All right, so we're diving into precious metals today, specifically Gainesville Coins.
Yeah.
We're John and Tiffany from the Morss Global Finance Podcast team,
Right.
and you guys have sent us a bunch of info about them, and we're gonna like really sort through it all for you.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack here.
Okay, so Gainesville Coins, they've been around for a while, right? Like over 20 years.
Over 2 decades, yeah.
Family-owned business based in Florida,
Yeah.
and they're known for like having a ton of different precious metals.
Huge selection, yeah.
And focusing on customer service
Yeah.
from what we've seen. So it sounds pretty good on the surface, but, we got to dig a little deeper.
Exactly. Got to see what's really going on behind the marketing and all that.
Right. So one of the first things I noticed is that they're an authorized distributor for some pretty big names.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like the Perth Mint, the Royal Mint, U.S. Mint.
Yeah. And that actually matters, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just a fancy title.
No, it's huge, actually. I mean, think about it. You're buying precious metals. You want to make sure they're the real deal. And being an authorized distributor means they have that direct relationship with the mints.
So you're not going to get some like knockoff coin or bar.
Yeah.
You're getting the genuine article.
Exactly. It's like a guarantee, peace of mind, especially since we're talking about, valuable stuff here.
Definitely. And it seems like they do more than just, buy and sell. Right?
Oh, yeah. They've got this whole ecosystem going on.
Like what?
Well, like IRA services, for example.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So you can diversify your retirement portfolio.
Smart.
And for people who are, worried about keeping their precious metals safe.
Yeah, it's a real concern.
They have storage options, too. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop for all your precious metals needs.
Makes sense. Oh, and they have this a portfolio tracker thing. Have you seen that?
Yeah, the portfolio tracker. It's actually pretty cool. It's not just some, gimmick. It lets you keep track of how your investments are doing.
Like actually see how the value's changing.
Exactly. You can spot trends, calculate the melt value of your holdings.
So you're not just guessing. You're actually getting some hard data.
Exactly. It's like having a personal assistant for your precious metals. Wow.
Okay, so far we've got a long-standing company, authorized distributor, lots of services, even this portfolio tracker. Sounds good, right?
It does paint a pretty positive picture, but we got to remember, this is a deep dive. We got to look at everything. And there are some, potential concerns we need to address.
Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. You're talking about those customer reviews.
Yeah, those reviews.
Because we saw some glowing ones, but then some that were...
Not so glowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's important to, to dissect these reviews carefully. Some people are super happy. Others are talking about delays, communication issues, even some payment problems. So, how do we make sense of that?
Right. How do we sift through all that and figure out what's real and what's maybe not the full story?
Right. And it's tricky because online reviews can be a bit of a wild west.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Some platforms are just more, prone to fake reviews than others. Like take Trustpilot, for example.
Okay.
They had to remove a ton of fake reviews.
Interesting.
Yeah, so their current rating is a bit questionable.
So you can't always take it at face value.
Exactly. So you got to be careful about the source.
Are there any, red flags we should be watching for when we're reading these reviews?
Yeah, absolutely. Look for patterns. Are there complaints that keep coming up over and over about the same issues?
Makes sense.
And, try to get a feel for the overall sentiment, not just focus on a few isolated incidents.
So it's kind of like detective work almost.
Exactly.
Piecing it all together.
And that brings me to another thing that that I found a little bit strange.
Okay, what's that?
There's not much information out there about Gainesville Coins leadership team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, that's not necessarily a deal breaker, but
But it's a bit weird.
it is a little bit, yeah.
It's like, trust us. We're the experts, but we don't even know who they are.
Yeah, and, transparency is super important when it comes to finances.
Especially with something as valuable as precious metals.
Exactly. You want to know who's running the show, what their experience is, all that.
Right. Adds a layer of accountability.
Exactly.
Okay, so mixed reviews, mysterious management team.
Yeah.
Anything else we should be wary of?
Yeah, actually. Stock availability. It seems like they sometimes run out of certain metals, specifically for IRA accounts.
Oh, that's got to be frustrating if you're, trying to make specific investments.
Right. And then there's shipping costs.
Yeah, those can add up.
Especially for smaller orders.
Right, because we're talking about heavy metal here, literally.
Exactly. So even if their prices look good, you got to factor that in.
Okay, so let's recap.
Okay.
On the plus side, they've been around forever. They're authorized dealers. They offer a ton of different products and services,
Yeah.
and they've even got this cool portfolio tracker thing. But we've got some potential downsides, like those mixed customer reviews, the lack of info about the leadership team, and then the possibility of stock shortages and high shipping costs.
Exactly. So the question is, what does all this mean for you, the listener? How do you weigh all this and decide if Gainesville Coins is the right choice for you?
That's what we're going to tackle next.
Mm-hmm.
So we've thrown a lot of info at you about Gainesville Coins, the good, the bad, the maybe not so bad, but like, what do you do with all this?
Well, now you got to put those critical thinking skills to work, right?
Yeah.
We've given you the puzzle pieces, but you got to see if they fit together for you, make a picture you're comfortable with.
So where do people even start? How do they figure out if Gainesville Coins is the right, like, partner for their precious metals journey?
I'd say go straight to the source.
Oh, you mean like
Don't just rely on reviews and stuff. Contact Gainesville Coins directly.
be proactive?
Yeah, exactly. Ask about their leadership team. Ask about shipping, returns, anything that's unclear or, bugging you.
Because how they respond to that kind of tells you a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Are they open? Are they helpful? Or are they, dodging questions?
That's a red flag.
Big time.
Okay. And speaking of, figuring things out, we got to talk more about those customer reviews. We know they can be iffy, but we can't just ignore them.
No, definitely not. It's valuable data. Whether it's good or bad, it tells you something. But like we said, gotta be cautious.
So any tips for navigating that minefield of reviews?
Well, first, don't just rely on one platform.
Oh, good point.
Check out the Better Business Bureau. Look at Trustpilot, but remember what we said about those fake reviews, right? Then there's SiteJabber, Yelp, even Google reviews. See if the same issues are popping up everywhere.
So you're looking for, consistency. If everyone's complaining about the same thing,
Then there's probably something to it.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And pay attention to how Gainesville Coins responds to negative reviews. Do they try to fix things?
Yeah, that's key. Are they taking responsibility?
Yeah.
Or just blowing people off?
Because a company that cares about their customers, they're going to want to make things right.
Exactly. And that brings us to another point. Comparing Gainesville Coins to others.
Right. They're not the only game in town, are they?
No way. There are a bunch of reputable precious metal dealers out there.
Give us some examples.
APMX is a big one. JM Bullion, SD Bullion, goldsilver.com. Do your research, see how their pricing compares, what kind of selection they have.
Their customer service, all.
Exactly. It's like buying a car, right? You don't just walk into the first dealership and buy whatever's there.
Just drive a few.
Exactly. Because the precious metals market, it's huge. There's no single right answer for everyone.
So we're really encouraging people to, be active in this process. Do your due diligence.
Absolutely. Ask the tough questions. Knowledge is power, right? And with investing, that power can mean, financial security, peace of mind.
Speaking of security, we talked about it in general, but what about Gainesville Coins' specific security measures? What have they got?
Well, from what we can see, they've invested heavily in security at their facility. Backup power, over 200 cameras. They say their online platform is super secure too, with 247 access to their inventory.
But how do we know that's all legit? Are there, industry standards for this stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There are certifications, standards, like the CME Group. They own COMEX. They have requirements for depositories for gold and silver.
Okay.
And the LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association, they set standards for bullion bars.
So it's worth looking into, seeing if Gainesville Coins meets those.
Definitely. Don't be shy about asking them. Ask about their protocols, certifications, insurance. A good company will be upfront about it.
Okay. So we've covered a lot. Customer reviews, the mystery leadership team, security measures, comparing them to other companies. But we got to circle back to one thing: IRA services.
Ah, yes, a big one for a lot of investors.
Because people want to diversify those retirement portfolios.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with Gainesville Coins IRA services? How do they work?
Well, they offer traditional and Roth IRAs, so you can hold physical precious metals in your retirement account, tax advantaged.
So instead of just stocks and bonds, you've got gold and silver.
Exactly. It's a way to, hedge against inflation, diversify.
Makes sense. But I'm guessing it's not as easy as just buying some coins and throwing them in your IRA, right?
Haha, no. There are rules, specific types of metals, purity standards, storage requirements.
So you got to do your homework.
Big time.
So what about Gainesville Coins specifically? Anything special about their IRA services?
Well, they seem to have a pretty streamlined process, and they offer a good selection of IRA-eligible metals. Plus, they handle the paperwork, the logistics, setting up the account, maintaining it.
That's helpful. But are there any downsides?
Well, remember we talked about them running out of stock sometimes. Yeah, that could delay your IRA contributions, and their fees might be a bit higher than some others.
So got to factor that in.
Absolutely. Always compare, do your research, and don't be afraid to ask questions, clear up any doubts before you commit.
Great advice. Okay, we've definitely gone deep on Gainesville Coins today, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Yeah, hopefully this gives you a much better understanding of them, their strengths, weaknesses, things to watch out for.
But before we wrap up entirely, there's one last thought I want to leave you with. We've been, really focused on the nitty-gritty of Gainesville Coins, but I think we need to step back for a sec, like zoom out.
Yeah, what's the bigger picture here?
Why are we even talking about precious metals?
Yeah.
What role do they play in, like, a smart portfolio?
Right, good point. Well, gold and silver, they've been a store of value for a long time.
Centuries, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're seen as a way to protect yourself against inflation, economic uncertainty.
Kind of a safe haven when things get rocky.
Yeah, and a way to diversify. Instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, like just stocks and bonds.
So it's not just about, like, making a quick buck. It's about protecting your wealth long term.
Exactly. So yeah, finding the right partner for that, for your precious metals journey, it's super important.
So is Gainesville Coins that partner? I mean, we've seen some good stuff.
Yeah, they have a lot going for them. They're authorized distributors. They've got a lot of different products and services. They seem to take security seriously.
But we've also seen some red flags.
Yeah, we can't ignore those. The mixed customer reviews, the lack of info about their leadership, the stock issues.
Right, so it's not a simple answer. It's not like, yes, Gainesville Coins is perfect for everyone, or no, stay away.
Right, and that's kind of the point of this deep dive, right? We're not giving you a thumbs up or thumbs down. We're giving you the info, the tools, so you can decide for yourself.
So what's the next step for someone who's, maybe interested in Gainesville Coins after hearing all this?
I'd say reach out to them. See what kind of vibe you get. Ask them the tough questions about their leadership, their security, their fees.
See how they react.
Yeah, and trust your gut. If something feels off, if they're not being straight with you, maybe look somewhere else.
And remember, there are other options. Those other dealers we talked about. Do your research, compare.
Exactly. Find the best fit for you, for your goals, your comfort level.
It's your precious metals journey. Find a partner you trust, someone who gets you, who can help you navigate this whole world.
Because it's a fascinating world,
Yeah.
but it can be complex, so knowledge is key.
So keep learning, keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to, really dig in and do your research.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into Gainesville Coins. We hope you found this helpful.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
And until next time, happy investing, everyone.